And the three of us are on this mission in this, spaceship together that, you're either on or you're off.
Welcome to the Set Apart Podcast. My name is Oscar Motorhome, and I am the president and founder of John Bell Construction. I am the host of the Set Apart Podcast, and today is our fourth episode of the Who's John series. And honestly, who better to know about Who's John than Jazz? Jazz has been with us almost since the inception of the company. Somebody that I love very much. He's my best friend, the best man at my wedding. And we're going to learn a lot about who Jazz is, the things he cares about, and the things he does here at John Bell. So we're happy to have you on, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Oscar. I appreciate you bringing me on. And it's not like we talk enough, but now we get to talk in a relaxed setting and really, really dig deep. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's see how deep we can get.
Yeah, we can get pretty deep. So,
you say like bring you on, and it reminds me of when we started the company. One of the first things that I always wanted to do was to bring you on. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that, hey, man, like bringing Jazz on to who we are and like here at John Bell, like we're already doing great things, But for someone like you, just like the excellence, like I feel like the things you do as a person and as, just on your day to day is like with so much dedication. And we really needed that, because I'm kind of like a little sporadic sometimes. And you brought such an organization to us. So. And then on this side, on the podcast, it's somebody that I think can really shed a lot of light as to what really makes John Bell Construction set apart and the people behind it, because you're one of those people, like the other guests that we're going to have on the Who's John series, that really make John Bell who John Bell really is. So we're happy to have you on.
I appreciate it, man.
But before we get going, and I don't want to spend too much on it, but I want to spend a little bit of time to really understand who you really are as a person, but I think we should just start by the day that we met. Do you remember that day?
I remember like it was yesterday. We were
like it was 5 minutes ago.
Like it was 5 minutes ago. And that seems to be like how we start every conversation, right? Yeah. It was practically yesterday. But I was going into my junior year, Summer going into junior year of high school. You were going into your sophomore year. And we were on the baseball team at South Miami High. And this summer we were training at a facility called Hardball, which was an indoor baseball facility.
I remember.
Yeah, and man, I remember them separating the position players, AKA the hitters from the pitchers, and I remember being on that side and just one of the coaches calling me and saying, "Man, you gotta take a look at this kid. He's gonna be one of the arms on the rotation."
Bro, and if you guys know, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was so excited to be there because I come from private school. We were 3A, which is like high school is separated by, let's say, by divisions, and South Miami, which is the school we met each other, was the one that had the most competitive teams. So me coming into where we were 3A to 6A, I was like, I felt like I went from the Marlins playing to the Yankees.
Man, I can imagine.
And you were the captain of the team. Yeah. So I was really trying to make you guys, kind of impressed.
I'll tell you, man, that's why I was excited, because as the captain of the team, I had just been named captain. I really wanted to win. And one of the things that we needed was pitching. In high school baseball, everybody needs pitching. So I go over to the other side because the coach tells me, you got to come see this kid. And I was a little hesitant because, coming from La Salle, 3A, smaller school, how good can this kid be? Yeah. But I knew you were young. I knew you were going into your sophomore year.
I was like 140 pounds.
And, man, you were 140 pounds soaking wet, but you had the size and you had, your arms down to your knees. But, man, you slung that baseball and you were popping the mitt, the catcher's mitt. And I was excited. I was like, this kid's throwing. I remember, I think they had a gun on you. They were hitting like 87, 88. As a sophomore, I was like, you're throwing the ball pretty hard.
Hence
we're
why,
pretty good.
Hence why I had surgery the next year.
You were throwing it as hard as you could. The very next day, though, you're on the position player side. And I'm like, what's this kid doing?
Which is not normal because usually in high school, pitchers pitch. It's like in Major League Baseball. You know, it's like or any sport, you know, like
Right.
the quarterbacks and he doesn't like, you know, go out for passes. So in baseball is the same.
Which we can do a podcast episode of full cycle athleticism another day. But yeah, in high school baseball, especially here, they quickly tell you, hey, you're either going to pitch or you're going to hit.
Yeah.
So having you on the hitting side surprised me, and there you were with your bat. I think it was an Air Attack 2, some kind of great bat that you had in your hand, and you were ready to hit, and you were like, oh, I'm next. You were going in the cages, and I love that about you. And then I think a coach came over and said, Oscar, what are you doing, man? You're not gonna hit. You know, come over here with the pitchers. But I saw that fearlessness in you. You were definitely fearless. You know, you were in a new environment, public school, bigger team, older guys. You were one of the youngest guys on the varsity team, and I'm like, man, this kid is fearless. And then the very next day, or I think it was at the end of that day, you showed me once again that fear was not in your repertoire, and you came right up to me and said, hey, Jazz, man, I just wanted to, you know, introduce myself.
I was just so I was so happy to be there, but I was like so impressed by you because I never saw somebody hit the way you hit, move the way you moved. Like you were the first to get on the cage. You were really leading by example, and that's something that honestly here at John Bell Construction you still do. You know, where you're like sometimes you're the first one here, the last one out, leading by example. And we're gonna get to that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Yeah, I try to.
But it's something that I wasn't like that, and I don't know if you know that about me. I was never really like that, and you made me like that.
I hope you definitely, you know, there's things that you do, man, that you know, not a lot of people would do. But I think it comes from your fearlessness. You know, going back to what I was saying, even in that moment, you know, hey, Jazz, here's my phone number. Take it down. I'm going to save it in your phone. If you want somebody to hit you ground balls, if you want somebody to pitch to you, pick me up. And I'm like, man, this guy, we're going to do things together, you know? Yeah. So I would pick you up. We would go practice. And man, we fed off of each other. So we hit it off, you know? We hit it off. And I think we quickly noticed that the urgency, the desire, the strive for excellence, you know, at a very early age.
And we made each other better.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that we really made each other better?
I totally agree. From the very beginning, and I think this is something we can, you know, continue to talk about today. I feel that what I lack, you have an abundance of. And vice versa.
It's like me and my wife.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
You were my first wife.
Yeah, I know. And thankfully, you know, we didn't take that too far, but we certainly, man, we fed off of each other, you know, from a very early age, and I think that
we complement each other like crazy, like how the difference, like honestly, is like almost like a perfect, you know, key lock type of situation where, but that key lock at one point meshed together, and we really became one. Where nobody lacked anything. We both had everything, and we were so focused at what we were doing. And I felt like we were almost unstoppable, so much that, you know, the goal that you had at being this best second baseman in high school, and you achieved it. You became All-Dade, which is the best second baseman in Miami-Dade County. And we used to put it on our mirrors, and we used to put it in our locker. And our goal was that. I think our biggest fault in our early years, other than not really having good mentorship guiding us, because we really lacked that.
Yeah, we needed that.
But it was also that we didn't set enough goals, you know? Like, we didn't have personal goals, you know? Like, we should have said, hey, I want to be a better person. I want to be, like, whatever it was just, I want to be the best second baseman. I want to be the best pitcher. Unfortunately, I had surgery and I didn't get there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I lived, like, you know, vicariously through you, where when we got the news that you made it to the paper and you were the best second baseman, at that point I felt like me and you together had reached our first goal.
And that's special, man, because I felt the same way, you know, like the camaraderie that we built, the striving together, blood, sweat, and tears, because, and these are the things that we remember. But, you know, there were moments that were difficult. You know, there were moments
everything
that were
was
great.
Like everything was that. It was all date. Remember, it was like
it was all date. It was
all
all date.
date.
Everything was all date. And I don't know if you remember, but 90 miles an hour was on every ball that you would pitch, on every baseball that you would play catch with. And that's another thing. You still practice that today. You are a very goal oriented. Let's put it on paper. Let's share it with each other. And I think that's something huge about goals is that they have to be attainable, within reach sometimes. But also, you need people around you to hold you accountable. I think if we think back, there were moments maybe where if you would veer, I was there to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
If I would veer, hey, remember what the goal is, and stay on track. And that's
I think
something,
considering everything that Miami has, all the obstacles that we faced as kids, because we're essentially going out to parties and we're really doing things that we really shouldn't be doing. Like, I say, like, bastante bien que amo,
Bastante bien, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I'm very fortunate that even in those times where we got in trouble, the times that we weren't doing things we were supposed to do, we were together. Like,
we were together. And if we were gonna
go down.
we were gonna go down together. And if we were gonna have a good time, we were gonna have the best time together. And if we were gonna do something, we were gonna do something.
It's kind of crazy. Do you think that the same core values that we have here at John Bell, like we've kind of had since we were 15, like,
100%.
We're going to be set apart. We always wanted to be different.
Always. No, in everything we do.
Excellent. Like, we wanted to be excellent. We took an incredible amount of pride, which we got a lot from our baseball coach. Do you know that that's the reason that I have pride?
Take pride in what you effing do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what our coach would tell us.
Oh my God, man. I get
goosebumps
thinking about
because we grew up as a team.
100%. And that's something special, in my opinion, and I would love to get, the entire team together and ask them. But think about it. I put myself in their shoes sometimes at what they look at, and the three of us are on this mission in this, spaceship together that, you're either on or you're off, and that's something special, man. I hope that, they feed off of that. And I know that ultimately they do. It shows in their work. And you know how it is, being a leader too, if somebody's not going to work out, they kind of don't work out quickly. Yeah. But thankfully, we have the team that's worked out for a while. And it shows, man, hopefully because of, the passion that we bring to it, trying to be excellent,
We're going to talk about something that I wasn't prepared to talk about. What I want to talk to you about later in the show was during the second episode of the Who's John series that Isabella comes on. I cry about something. And it's something that has really, really been on my heart, and it like broke my heart. I started crying on the show, but we'll talk about that later.
So I'm excited to see that episode for sure.
Subscribe
and share.
Yeah, exactly. So we graduate high school.
Yeah.
I had surgery.
Unfortunately.
The baseball pitching comes to an end, and I go, to what I was doing, which was, just going to, I was working and going to Miami-Dade. But you're playing baseball. You still made it. You played college baseball, and you went to the University of Tampa. How was the experience at University of Tampa?
Very different. However, I was able to take our mentality and make it my own. Unfortunately, without you physically there, without Foz, we'd be remiss. He was younger at that age, and Mikey, we'd be remiss not to mention that force was unstoppable, and man, I was able to lead that mentality. I was able to go to college the first 2 years at the University of Tampa with my close cousin, and share that with him and bring him along for the ride and make an impact on the team. And I definitely, I can say with certainty that I was set apart, which is another reason why I left Tampa, ended up at Lynn, but that's neither here nor there. But it was, that was before the FaceTime. It was before Skype. It was, I think, Facebook had just started. So you and I weren't technologically connected, but we were on the phone, man. And we were talking.
And I would surprise you sometimes.
Yeah, man. You surprised me, I think, 2 or 3 times. And the first time, I'll never forget. The first time was at my family's house because that first semester I was living with my uncle. 30 minutes away from school. But then after the first semester, I was on campus. So the second time you surprised me at the gym, I think I was like in the middle of a set.
I think it was a bench.
A bench of the dumbbells, and you came in and surprised me. So it was special, man. We kept that bond. We held each other accountable. We sharpened each other, as we like to say, iron sharpens iron. I don't think we lost that spark. You in one direct, I think, man, I think back, because I think we still hung out every time I came back. And you were even more driven to accomplish what you had set out in your career. to graduate, to be successful, to learn the craft of construction more than you already had. And that was special because you just kept going, although it wasn't in baseball, and now what God had called you to do. And God at the moment had still been calling me to play baseball. So I would have played until, I would still be playing if I could. And that was what I was doing at the time. But when you would ask me, hey, how was practice today? What did you do? Or how was the game? What did you hit? I would ask you, hey, what's the next job? How you doing in school? Right? I remember it was around that time, probably middle of our college career, you really hit the switch. That switch for you went on because you weren't the best student in high school.
No, I was a terrible student.
I think one of the teachers we can bring on the podcast and ask her, specifically the math subject.
Incredible.
I've always wondered, man.
So there's a math teacher.
Yeah, there's a math teacher.
That I was sleeping in her class.
And I'll never forget.
And I remember I was in the dugout, and everybody was in the dugout, and this teacher, she had taken away my phone, by the way.
Yeah, your psychic.
Yeah, my psychic, Alex. And she coming out of left field from the school.
And what was that, 150-yard walk?
Yeah,
100-yard walk?
Hard. And I went to her, I go, yo, this is not going to be good. And she came and she told my coach, hey, I don't know what she did because it was like a private conversation. And
yeah, we don't know exactly what she said, but it was definitely about that you had slept through her entire class.
Yes, I would fall asleep.
Like
I always fall asleep before the class started, and I'd wake up after the class ended. And that was
probably because you were painting and pressure cleaning.
Yeah, but she didn't know about that.
Yeah, she didn't know about that.
And I remember I was running laps, and I got in so much trouble.
So one thing that I wanted to ask you on the podcast was, do you remember a moment in time when the switch flipped for you? Because academically, I think you had it.
Yeah, I did.
In other, but academically, when was that moment?
It's a good question. So I was in a class called equipment for construction management FIU. I was already in FIU. I was in an equipment class. So they teach you about excavators and loaders, and like they teach you all the equipment. It's literally a class for equipment. By the way, the school FIU construction management, for me, when I went in there, I couldn't believe that I was so,
I can see that.
Like the stars aligned for me. This is exactly what I was born to do. And I'm getting graded to tell you that looks like a bulldozer.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
You knew about it.
Yeah, I had known on,
Yeah.
So there was this guy in my class, his name was Jorge Palanker. And I was in this class, and I was just as lost as the day that I fell asleep in that math class. And I showed up with no book bag. I showed up with no paper and no pen. And this is the first class I've ever been to. And they start talking about something that I love. And I turn around and I'd say to this guy, and I said, hey, do you have a paper? And I need like a pen. And do you have any highlighters? And do you have any tabs? And this guy that now is one of my closest friends and somebody that I love with all my heart, he's the reason that immediately when I turned around, when I started, that's when it clicked. That's when I realized this is exactly what you need to do. This is what you love. And you're in college. Like, you don't have a girlfriend. You don't have a wife. You don't have no kids. You're living at home. Like, you have no reason to not do incredible, you literally have no responsibility. Just pay attention to the person is saying and get good grades. And that's when I really started to love school. And I love FIU.
I would go as far as saying that's when excellence was like imprinted on you.
Yeah, from that day I wanted to be straight A's.
I've been part of John Bell Construction now for a little over 6 years. And there's never been a moment where I've kind of shared with you what I'm doing or what I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And I consider myself, I go about my day and my tasks in an excellent manner. But there's never been a day where you don't say, oh, and are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? And are you going to do that? And I'm like, damn, I never really thought of that. Like, simple. Are you going to put it in a binder? Are you going to print it in color? Are you going to put a cover page? Are you going to tab it and highlight? And there's a good way to do things. There's an excellent way to do things. And I wanted to know when that switch flipped for you because, although, in high school you were excellent and competing at baseball, you know. And I think that that's huge. It doesn't have to turn on early on.
Yeah.
As long as it turns on.
Exactly. Which is something that I've been wanting to really, which is my next point, which is crazy because we're always kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we're not on the same page. My next question was, you know, when did you start and when did that evolution happen for you? Because you're asking me, you're the guest of the show, you know?
Yeah, but I take opportunities.
Yeah. When did that evolution happen to you where you were a college student, you were somebody coming out of college, I don't think that you were really looking for a career, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're looking for a job, and then now you have a job, and a few years pass by, boom, and you're in John Bell Construction.
Yeah.
How was that evolution of where you're playing baseball, you're going to school, you have a certain, you know, you had 2 jobs,
Yeah.
and then boom, you're at John Bell. How was that evolution and that change?
Kind of crazy. I was fortunate enough to graduate with my bachelor's, and quick side note, I got a job offer with the Florida Marlins in inside sales, selling tickets, kind of like as entry level as you can get.
I remember when you called me and I told you, hey, I think you should do it. I think it's a great.
No, but there was no doubt.
And you accepted the offer.
Yeah, I accepted the offer. I went to it was the new stadium that had already been built. Actually, no.
No, it was being built.
It was being built.
Yeah.
Because this
So we're
was in
still Florida
2011.
Marlins.
Yeah, but they had already had their offices right there on Northwest 7th.
Yeah, in the corner.
In the corner. So I went, I met with HR, signed the paperwork. That same day, when I left the office, I got a call from a company called Apex Systems, IT staffing company. I had heard about staffing because my cousins in Tampa had a history in staffing, recruiters and account management.
I didn't know that. Who?
Ryan and Vanessa.
Oh, really?
But led by Vanessa, because Vanessa's the oldest cousin, and she got a job with Inside Global when she got out of college. And everybody in the family was raving about her job because she was taking out clients, she was managing accounts, and she was doing very well for herself.
I didn't know that.
But I had never applied. I had never applied to those. It didn't really interest me. But just so happens, when I left the Marlins headquarters, I got a call from a company called Apex Systems. And I entertained the call. And man, I was like, you're going to offer me what? You know, a salary with benefits. And it wasn't Fort Lauderdale. But man, I couldn't, honestly, I couldn't say no to the interview. I went and I interviewed. I met with who is now one of my mentors and great friends, Tim.
Wait, which Tim is the one that recommended you to this bottle.
Which Tim is the one.
So every time we drink this bottle of Camus, you know, I always think of Tim.
Exactly. It's in Tim's name. You know,
Tim's name.
That's
He's still
Tim's
alive,
famous. Though. Yeah, exactly. That's Tim's favorite bottle of wine, and he
But
introduced
listen,
it to me.
what's crazy is that guy. Think about this, which is why I wanted. That guy was so inspirational to you that because I think this podcast means a lot to you. You know,
It does.
and you brought that bottle today, and that's somebody that 10 years ago was. Why did you? Because he's the one that showed you that bottle.
He's the one that showed me that bottle, and he was successful early on, very successful. But because he was so good, he was good at his craft, great businessman. And anyway, he used to take us out on lunch, not on lunches, but like on dinners, and he used to host, and he used to buy, you
bring the Camus.
2 or 3 bottles of Camus to all of it. And I'm like 22, 23.
But it's incredible how important, like
and it stuck
mentors
with me.
are,
It
mentors
is.
are, and how it stuck to you. So I thought that was
It
pretty, it was pretty cool. But
it is. But going back, so the evolution. I don't take the job with the Marlins. I end up in staffing. Great first job out of college. I mean, I remember in the first month of training thinking, why have I been in college for 4 years? I've learned so much in just a month of business and writing emails and calendars and communication and selling.
I feel like every college student the first month thinks that. Because
I know.
I think the same thing.
You remember being out of school and saying I didn't learn any of this.
Exactly.
So it ended up being a great job. I was a recruiter for 8 months, quickly get promoted to account management, which was essentially outside sales, let's call it. But what I was doing was managing accounts. So I was meeting and building relationships with IT hiring managers for large corporations. Cigna, ADP, large corporations, their IT hiring managers. I was the guy trying to be the guy for them whenever they needed to fill a position. So I did that for 4 years. Thankfully, did well, and then I get an opportunity with a company called ADP. It was closer to home.
Yeah, much closer because the other job was Fort
The
Lauderdale.
other job was in Fort Lauderdale. I was doing very well, but I saw the future with this company. It was a step back financially, but sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. Closer to home, I saw the path, and I ended up taking that. And that was more of a consultative role. That was, in HR and consulting small businesses and in some HR services that ADP had. So I met with a lot of small business owners, people who had 20 employees, 30 employees, 40 employees, nothing big, but on the smaller scale. And I was, and I learned that side of the business, the people in HR and managing human capital. So here, during that time,
around that time, what was happening in John Bell Construction? Because a lot of people don't know this about you, but when I started the company, one of the reasons that you really didn't start from 2016 February, was it 16th or 18th?
February 18th.
February 18th.
2016.
Yeah. When we started the company is because something happened, dramatically in your life. You 2 kids essentially become orphans, and you and your wife have the ability to send them to an orphanage, or become their foster parents.
Yep.
And at that time you chose, hey, my family comes first, my wife comes first, and those 2 kids come first, and you brought them into your home.
Yep.
And it's crazy how life works, because maybe if that didn't happen, you would have been here, 2 more years than you are now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you fast forward, you're at ADP, and one of the things that we really lacked, I remember that John Fish, the CEO of Suffolk, said that we are in the business of building people, not in the business of building buildings. And that always resonated to me. And he told us that in a corporate meeting. And what we were missing was honestly people, which is something that we're going to talk about, which I had kind of talked about.
Roll down.
We needed to retain people. We need people to be happy. We need people to have good benefits. We need people to have a handbook. We didn't have a handbook. We needed to be able to attract people. We needed to give people benefits. When at that time, for the first year and a half, we didn't have any benefits. Yeah. Here you are preparing yourself where
incredible.
I feel like, if you really look at the first and the second episode of the Who's John series, you'll really realize that this company is ordained by God. God really has had his hand on it. And it was on, it's this whole company is really founded on the principles of Christ, where we really, the Bible says to be quiet so you can listen to the whispers of the Lord. And we've always prayed, and my biggest prayer has always been that I can hear God whispering into our ears, because essentially he wants to do something in our life and we have to just follow him. 100%. You're at ADP, you're doing essentially exactly what we are missing. Yeah. And Foz and I were saying, hey, man, Jazz is doing an incredible at ADP. That's exactly what we need here. Yeah. We don't have anything in terms of HR and all that. Can you take us back to that moment where me and Foz really because to me and him, to be honest with you, which I don't know if we ever talked about, we really came like they say, before the altar at that moment, where we really admitted, and I think we've constantly, even to today, admit the faults and the things that we lack. And that was the time that we really went to say, hey, we're really lacking in this. And man, who better than our best friend?
100%. No, I remember those conversations. There was multiple conversations, starting with the initial conversation of when you were gonna start the company, and when you first started the company, it was always, and man, you say it and it's 1,000% true. You always wanted You always wanted somebody to partner with. You wanted somebody to join you. I think at the very beginning, it was more like, man, can you imagine like one day us doing this together? And then the conversation was like, yeah, man. I mean, like very early on, the conversation was like, yeah, man, like I think so, And then it was,
I remember those days.
oh yeah, like, and then every time we would talk and you would say, hey, I did this. It was getting closer and closer, and you were like, Jazz, can you imagine, man? Like you're joining me and you're helping me, and I'm like kind of building, and it was like already starting to like stir up. And then halfway through 2016, that situation happened. My wife and I, we had only been married like 5 or 6 months. We were newlyweds. We found ourselves having to make a decision, stepping in and taking custody of her niece and nephew because of a situation in the family. We didn't think twice about it. I had been dating my wife at the time. We had just been married, but we had been dating for 4 years. So those kids, the boy was 10 months when I met him, and I saw the girl be born. So they were, we were very, very close. And that was when, so it just so happened that was when John Bell Construction, I think like a month or two after, Albert joined. And John Bell Construction really started to get some legs under them. The very early months, you were on your own, you, Isabella, making it happen. I was there with you as a friend, just telling me what's going on and trying to support you, whichever way I can, but not in the trenches. So, the time passes, and I'm here, overnight as a parent, with my wife. And I remember those conversations. Hey, you're doing what we need, what we lack, and a year later, the kids went back with mom, and I knew that if it wasn't then, it was going to be never.
Yeah.
If it wasn't then, when is the best time? I unfortunately couldn't make the jump while I had that responsibility. But it is incredible how, God had been preparing me through my career and through my knowledge to come in and bring, that aspect of the business.
Incredible, to be honest with you. Like you saying it to me, because sometimes we want things to happen at a certain time. They just don't happen. I think that, the reality is if you and Foz would have joined when the company started, the company wouldn't even be called John Bell. What would the company even be named?
Yeah.
And it just, things happened the way I think that they needed to happen.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest, again, speaking for you, that's my,
No, but we're on the same page, so.
Learning construction.
Yeah.
Because you're not the handiest guy. Like if something needs to be done in your house, your wife usually calls me.
Yeah. Hey, Oscar, when are you coming by again?
Exactly. But you were forced to learn construction, which I think you've done an incredible job learning. And I think you, in terms of plans interpretation, and identifying scope and really understanding construction holistically, I think you're doing incredible, far beyond my imagination, realistically. But how did that feel to like really, because me and Ron talk about this a lot, and it's about, and this is something that I don't know if you've been hearing about the other shows, but people do things that they love, but they're not good at. Some people do things that they're good at, but they don't love. And then some people do things that they love and that they're good at.
Right.
The reality is that, you might love construction, but you weren't good at it. And you've learned to become good at it. And that's a big struggle, because in the previous episode with Foz, I talk about the fact that if he had an accounting company and I were to join him, I don't know if I would be able to do that. And you guys, you and Foz both have made the adjustment for me that I really, at a point, I really took advantage of. And now I really look back a little older and I realize, man, those people love me so much that they have learned something completely new, and they believe so much in what me and Isabella have created that they have essentially said, I don't care what I've learned in human resources. I don't care about anything I've learned in school, anything I've learned in accounting.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop everything I'm doing, and I'm going to focus on learning the art of construction.
Well, let me be clear on that, and I agree with you. I think why is John Bell, and what makes John Bell different is that the people leading this company, all they have to give is love, like hardcore love. So however you want to spin it, starting with, and most importantly, the love for construction, which is, what you've had in you forever. And then the people by your side having such powerful love for you and your success. Let's just talk about you in an instance, obviously us and our success too, and everybody around us. Mm-hmm. But there's no force that can stop that. There's nothing that can get in the way of you, us, everybody in this organization that shares that and is led by that, putting out an excellent email, doing what they say they're going to do, show up on time, Why, and how? No, I would ask this. How did we learn construction that quickly? Through love. We had no other choice. This thing was going to go with or without us. And honestly, the only reason I learned construction was because of you. For me to say it was anybody else or anything else, yeah, at a certain point, okay, there's plans thrown your way. There's situations in the field that you're part of, but only because of you. Like I remember, talk about that evolution and transition. Mm-hmm. And for myself, I think it was a little, in Spanish, como decimos, yo me tenía que poner las pilas, like I didn't have that much time. If you remember, the beginning of 2018, when I joined.
Yeah, there's a lot of momentum.
There was a lot of momentum. Miami World Center was going to start from a masonry perspective.
Big jobs.
909 was critical jobs.
Critical jobs that we have been leading up to, praying for, wanting. Boom, they started.
Yeah, exactly. Vidal was about to, the new construction in Kendall was about to start. There was no...
So essentially our three biggest jobs.
Essentially, exactly. And there was no time, let's say, there was no time to let's stop and show Jazz construction, There wasn't that much time. So, and I knew that I had to make an impact. So I give it to you because I remember the first few months driving, I was sitting in your truck, meeting you at 7 a.m. at your house. Off Lejeune. And then you were, I'll never forget, I was like, why is he doing this? But you were telling me, that's a single hung,
door.
That's a horizontal roller. You see those old glass windows, those are jalousie windows. There's things that stick with me, and here I am with my Apple Notes. I'm literally writing everything down. I still have those notes, Number one, what a great way to learn. Number two, the only reason that happened is because of the care, the love. So you translate that into what we're doing now, caring for our people, the benefits, their experience when they first start here on their first day, the onboarding experience,
Time. Because one of the things that I think gets extremely missed or overseen are things that don't have to do with construction in this business. Our office manager, incredible.
Amazing.
We wouldn't be able to run this business without her. No. Foz, with
what he does back there.
What he does in terms of accounting and really making sure that everybody's paid on time, that our subcontractors are happy.
Unreal.
That the amount of suppliers, I think between suppliers and subcontractors, we might have maybe 300-400, subcontractors and suppliers in total, making sure that all those people are paid. We are a business that pays people, plain and simple. And essentially that there's another aspect that we're missing, which is the people side, because there's a lot of that you do now. But before, the main reason that you were brought was for two reasons, which was to bring in work
Yeah.
and to help with our people.
Yeah.
What do you think that you significantly impact immediately when we started when you came onto the company that really made a difference that you said that you saw such a void in?
So I feel that I brought a little bit of a corporate culture, and I use that in its most positive tense,
Yeah.
which was also a big evolution for myself and a big transition because the corporate environment is great. But when you're a small business starting off, trying to make it, hustling, as we like to use.
Yeah.
Like there's no corporate handbook here. Like we gotta make this happen.
Yeah, we're here grinding.
On one hand, I'm trying to bring a feel of like
A structure.
in addition of structure, of establishment. If we're gonna hire people, which we needed to hire people, let's at least have them feel that this is an established corporation, which it was. Now let's just show it from a human perspective. What's the onboarding like? What's the experience like? What kind of benefits, can the company offer me? What tools do I have at my fingertips that help me interact as an employee, and things like that.
What did we?
But on the other hand,
what do we have in terms of all those things? You just talked for like a minute.
no, we didn't have any of it. So we didn't have any of it. We were, we had to lease our employee. We didn't have a workers' comp policy, a standalone workers' comp policy.
So we had no workers' comp.
We had no workers' comp policy.
What else did we have?
We did have general liability. We had no workers' comp policy. We didn't have any health insurance.
So wait, no. So,
We had-
So I had no health insurance.
Yeah, but your health insurance policy was don't get hurt.
Okay, perfect. So no
Don't get sick.
No employee, me, Foz, nobody, my wife, nobody had any health
No,
insurance.
nobody had any health insurance.
no health
Not the
insurance.
guys on the field that were, in the trenches.
Yeah. So no health insurance, and
health
we
insurance.
have
And no standalone workers' comp policy.
no
We were
workers' comp.
covered through an umbrella leasing policy with
paying
God
like a
knows
super high.
350 other companies paying a super high rate.
Okay.
Which
else did
nobody
we have?
would contract us to that.
This is your time.
Yeah, no. We had all but what?
No
300
employee.
square feet.
Hold on,
We
no
had no
employee.
IT, no IT,
No employee handbook.
no employee handbook,
No IT.
no onboarding process, no orientation,
No reviews.
no reviews. Yeah, you know more than I do. Yeah, it was like the wild west of employment, really.
I don't know more than you do, but it means so much to me. This company to me means everything.
Yeah.
In the second episode, Isabella talks about how this company means so much to me that she was willing to leave me if her being my wife would be an impediment to this company's success. Because
Another love action,
this is my life, I wake up thinking about our clients. I go to sleep thinking about them. I don't think that there's another company out there that really loves the project that our client has hired us to do more than me. So I know it because there's a client aspect to it, but I want to make our people happy. And I've lost a lot of people that have come through this office, people that I've really trained, but people that I loved, employees I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where they were the catalyst to this company's success, to this company's growth.
Yeah.
And because of my lack of leadership, because of my lack of all the things that we talked about, we lost them. And those people essentially made or helped make John Bell who John Bell was.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're not here to see the fruit of it. But that's kind of like how life is.
That's life.
But it really hurts me because I wish that those people that really, really made an impact in those early days, even knew how much that they meant to me. They just didn't make it.
Yeah. And it's all part of a learning process for them, for you. I kind of always say, it's not about what you go through in life, because life has all kinds of things that they're gonna throw at you, but it's about what you learn from it. You know, you can go through a ton of challenges. You know, you just go through them, but if you're not learning from it on the other end, it's kind of for nothing. And honestly, you've evolved as a leader, light years ahead of what we all have. You know, of how it was when I first started. Again, going back to the wild west of employment, it was come and get to work. Yeah. You know, but I saw, and we would talk about it, like, let's make this let's make it a dynamic experience where you're gonna get the best of construction, but you're also gonna get the best experience as an employee.
Yeah, that's big.
And we translate that into what we do, because our people are obviously a big part of what we put out. So
I don't want to say everything, because there's so many like components of that I would say that they're so important, between like our spouses, our family, people praying for us, our employees, our suppliers, our subcontractors, so many people really there's so many people that really make this machine run.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You mind me cutting you off? Just whatever. Let me cut you off. Because I know I'm going to forget about it. And driving, I thought about it, and I had to say it. You mentioned, how you go to sleep.
You can say whatever you want.
Thinking about clients. You wake up thinking about clients. I've never seen anyone strive for excellent service more than you. And I am... Me, Albert, our team, trust me. One of my love languages is service. I love to serve. I love to serve my wife. I love to serve my kids. I love to serve my home. I love to serve anybody around me. But that service that you put out for your clients, any word that they say that's not on the positive affecting you the way it does, call it what you want. Some people may say it's unhealthy, but I think it's that fire that drives you. You don't want any negative, anything negative around the John Bell name. Not even the smallest thing. Hey, why isn't this on site? Or how come this wasn't done that way? Like, you don't do well with that, and I think that translates into such a great product that we put out. I don't think a lot of people in this city can relate, because a lot of people in the city are focused on what they're doing. They believe that what they do is great, no matter what. And yeah, a lot of people do great, they do great things, they do good work. But perception is reality. Yeah. And if a client thinks that what you're doing is not great, they may think it's good, but not great, you see that as an issue. You take the initiative, you go the step further, you lead, in getting people to realize that it's not okay and do something about it. So I just wanted to add that, because I think it's important.
I wish I could answer to that, Jay, because there's a lot of the reason that I am that way is because there's so many different factors. One of them is that I remember when me and Isabella started the company, that we had no work, we had no money, we didn't inherit this company, we didn't buy this company. John Bell is a made-up name. This company started from nothing. It started literally, the only thing it started was God on our side and hard work. And we put so much hard work, and we put so much effort, and the nights were so long, and we cried so much. We were just two people who just gotten married. We had nothing, but what we did have was a calling to be set apart that was clear as day. Yeah. And when we don't want to lead our clients in the wrong way, we also don't want to let God down, because I feel that God has been so good to us, Yeah. And that's such a big, question that I feel like it can be its own episode. Yeah. Because our clients deserve it. ultimately. The other thing is that it takes so much for me and you and Foz to land these jobs. Like we're here like convincing clients to use us, when the reality is if they knew really what the product and the service that they were getting, the decision would be so much easier. But since they really don't know us and they really don't understand this process, they feel like they're making like the most complex decision of their freaking life. And the reality is it should be the easiest decision of their life.
Yeah.
And I promise every single client, hey, I promise I'm not going to let you down. And I text, I don't know if you know about this. I text like Philip, the other guy, the new client. I text every single client. I promise you, I'm not going to let you down.
I know that about you.
So when a client is, and I don't think they're calling us out, but when a client says, "Hey, why isn't this here? Why is this happening?" I don't want our client to ever feel that we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Because when they thought about it once, I've thought about it 10 times. So I want them. I almost feel disappointed in the fact that they're even asking. It's almost like if my wife were to check my cell phone when I'm sleeping. Yeah. If my wife is checking my cell phone when I'm sleeping, it's because I'm doing something wrong when I'm awake.
Right.
So that.
But it really disappoints you.
But it really disappoints me.
I know it bothers you. I see you. You don't like it. You're not comfortable with it.
Because they don't trust me.
Yeah. And it sparks you to do something.
Yeah. Sometimes it sparks me to do things that I shouldn't do in terms of like, the way my knee.
Regardless of that, do you go even further above and beyond what you were gonna do?
Well, my
initially,
my number one goal is to set ourselves apart and to exceed expectations. That is our number one goal. We need to do things that our client is not expecting. If they're expecting it, we're not set apart. That's freaking simple. Like that's not rocket science.
I agree.
So when the client is already kind of like uneasy, no good. Like now we're gonna really crank it up. And I take a lot of pride in that. And that's rare. And I take a lot of pride in that. And we're gonna continue to do that until I die.
Yeah.
We are gonna be a company where we are known for doing what we say, for showing up on time, giving fair prices, providing good service, and really being set apart and having the core values of teamwork, excellence, and pride. I promise you, until I die. The next generation, I don't know what's gonna happen, but as long as I live, we're gonna make it happen. Absolutely. And I think that with people like you and people like Foz and the team that we have right now and the team that we're going to get because we're only going to grow,
100%.
There's nobody that's going to stop us. And I say that in the most humblest way. I think that this city longs for contractors like us, and I'm very thankful, for people like you.
And I appreciate, again, I say it, we're best friends, we're brothers, but it was an opportunity that you gave me. It was an opportunity that I saw. It was an opportunity that I jumped at as soon as I could, that I recognized. And I've never been one to pass on a good opportunity. But that same, you take that same drive that you have for clients and exceeding expectations, man, you think of Foz and what he does from a numbers perspective, one of the most pivotal parts of a business, and that's in everything he does. You translate that to the people, how people view us, how we recruit, that first conversation, that first phone conversation, the face-to-face interview, an on-site interview, what they experience when onboarding, the comfort level, the training, the technology. That's all super important. So and we're gonna go about it the exact same way that you just said.
So why is it so hard for us to land jobs? Why is it so difficult for us to convince clients? Everything you just said, Jay. Why is it so difficult for us? Why did we last year we only did $15 million in sales, and why did we make $150 million in sales?
In my opinion, I'll tell you why. It's one of the main reasons why this podcast exists is that people don't know who we are. People don't know who we are. They really, there's no other way to put it. They don't know who we are. We oftentimes come recommended. And they're like, okay, so you recommend this company. Who are they? So they may do some research.
Who do you think we are, though?
Man, we're a force to be reckoned with. We're somebody that's coming for you, in every sense of the word. We're somebody that what you see is what you get.
That's a good one.
We're somebody that's gonna be just as hungry to serve you as we are of landing you as a client, you know. But Oscar, I think you and I are on the same page about this. There's like a romance to every job. You can see dollar signs. You can see the building being built, you know. There's things that you can see. It doesn't mean that, you know, you're not going to see dollar signs or you're not going to see the building being built, but you see where that relationship can be, the wow that you can give the client, the peace. I think more so, you know, going back to servitude, you know, to serving clients, you genuinely want that client to feel at ease.
No, we're definitely here to serve them.
Genuinely, from start to finish. I don't think there's much more. No, I'm sorry. That's a huge satisfaction. You know, having a client, you know, get that 1-2 in a positive way. That 1-2 punch when the job starts and like, oh my God, the structure's coming out of the ground already. You know, the job site is completely protected. You know, you have all this safety signage posted. You have a clean toilet for the workers. Like everything is okay. They didn't expect that.
It's crazy because in I don't know what episode I discussed it, but the formula for success in a construction company in Miami is very simple.
You preach it all the time.
It's not that difficult. If people can just do what they say they're going to do, they provide a fair price. They don't have to be the cheapest price. They just got to provide a fair price where their value is just, it's
correct.
It's in line with the price. Mm-hmm. And they show up on time. They delivered on the project on time or early. And they really try to exceed that person's expectations. Their expectations are so low because the majority of the people that our clients, you know, that our clients have, you know, people like stole like deposits from them. They left a job. They stopped manning the job. The job never happened. They had to fire the contractor, hire another contractor. The expectation is so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, in some situations, yeah. Most.
Bro, like to mess that up, you gotta suck. So imagine us coming with this fresh, you know, approach where we love this. Like our intention is to absolutely serve you.
Serving, yeah.
And it's never been about money. I can care less about money. I really do. Money comes and goes. You know, if you're not happy with $1, you're not happy with $1 million. People, the richest people in the world, they're just as miserable as they were when they were broke. You know, does money help? Yeah, it does. Whoever says that money doesn't help is because they never had money. Yeah. But money is not my driving force. I really do. I sometimes sometimes I wish that I would lose it so I can prove to people that I don't really care about it. You know, we were
I'd like
born.
to say a story.
Yeah, you can say it in a second.
Go ahead.
We were born naked and we're gonna die naked at the end of the day. You know, that's not what we're here for. So right. I really hope that, you know, through this podcast that people can really understand that these are a group of people.
I know.
Majority young, some old, that just love to serve them, love to do a good job. They love construction, number one. We love what we do.
That's number one.
And
we can go off on.
Do you love construction?
I love construction. I love construction.
Ron, do you love construction?
I love construction.
Oh, okay.
He loves it now. And I'm sure you do, Ron. I don't take that with a grain of salt. I never thought I could love.
Hold on, give me a second. Ron, unmute yourself. Let me ask you a question. Starting these videos that you've been doing for us, and really the John Bell Media and what we're going through, have you had a larger appreciation for construction, you know, with what you've been doing for us?
Oh, 100%. I mean, growing up, I have uncles and aunts that work construction and did it their whole lives, and it's kind of like under the table and kind of things. And like, I have a tío that he can fix it, he can do that, he can hang that or whatever. But like to actually seeing it done, not to say that they weren't doing it correctly, but to see it done in a professional manner, to see something from the ground, every layer of it, and then finish a project like from start to finish, and then just seeing how you have everything dialed in from like the tile, the guy who does the tile, the guy who hires the tile, like just every step of the way, and you have it all in your head locked in from when you step in to when you step out.
Yeah.
And that shit was the most impressive. You know, like I just hit record and document it. And then, you know, like I think what I do is kind of dope. But then I look at what you guys do and I'm just like, dude, I just make videos.
Ron, I still get impressed, bro. I do. And this is Oscar.
Ron-
This is my brother. I still get impressed. He asked me if I love construction. I never thought I would love it this much. And honestly, if you go back to 2018 when I first joined, I never thought I would have to learn it this much.
And I think Ron has even learned it too. Like,
Yeah, he has.
have you really understood because essentially you document what we've been doing for a long time. What do you feel like you've learned through this process?
I learned that it's very repetitive. You know, all the steps are kind of the same. You know what I'm saying?
He should tell our employees that, right? I know what you're thinking.
I learned that the biggest part is customer service. You know, the client comes first, no matter how big the project. But yeah, the biggest part was just kind of making sure everybody's happy and making sure everybody's in line. Because if everybody's kind of like just doing their own thing, the project gets done in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or not done at all. You get what I'm saying? So you are just that kind of like gatekeeper of like making sure this shit gets done to make sure, one, my people get paid, one, this gets done. This is another check on our history books and like another part of our legacy and the perfection that you go into and have for every job. And like I see it with Jazz, I see it with Albert. Like the not to say that things don't go wrong. You know, I see you get frustrated out in the field. I can see when things are kind of boiling over and like the negative parts of it. But the passion that you guys have for what you do, it fires me up. You know, I think it's why we've been able to do everything we've done to this point, to this day, in the 7 months, 8 months that we've been together. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a privilege for me, you know, as a creator and like an artist and somebody that lives behind the camera and behind the scenes. And the fact that you give me these opportunities to share my opinion, you know, it's I can't explain it. You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
It's special.
Your opinion really means a lot to me. First of all, because I love you a lot, and you're somebody that I really care about. But it's also because you're somebody that's come into this culture. Essentially 7.5 years after it was started, and you're witnessing this. And sometimes we lose like that sensitivity,
That initial.
Yeah, we get kind of like immune to it, you know.
we do.
And that's why I asked Ron, like, you know, how do you feel about it? What do you think we're doing? Because, you know, our clients see it,
Sense that.
but the last thing
I know what
I
you're saying.
want is for us to come up with like, you know, to feel like we're kind of BSing somebody.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we're not BSing somebody. Like, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we care about. We love you. We want to serve you. We want to love you. We want to build that for you. We want to build this one. We want to build the next one, you know? So it's like, if people only knew how much this means to us, you know? And
Yeah.
I wanted to
That's
just
the truth.
kind of wanted to go through something where do you think that our biggest challenges have been so far, you know, as a company? Because, you know, we've been talking a lot of good things, but the reality is like it's been such a struggle to get to where we're at. Like, to have this conversation, we've had so many tough conversations and so many difficult conversations. Like, what do you think we have overcome to be here?
Man, we've overcome a lot. Something that comes to mind is, you know, our people. You know, our culture has for a long time been a work in progress. Kind of like finding out who we are as leaders, you know, not what we do in the field or how we go about it, but who's gonna be part of that, you know. And not everybody's cut out for this.
Yeah.
And that, you know,
That's tough for me to accept sometimes, to be honest.
correct. So the only one who sacrifices there is John Bell, because we strive for excellence so much that we're not going to settle. You know, our clients, our product mean so much more than mediocrity, that we're not just going to let anyone come in and do things the way they want to do it. So, you know, we've taken our time, we've built our team, we've put the right people in the right place. It hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of soul searching for you, for me, for Albert as leaders. Hey, how are we going to handle this situation? What are we going to do? This person is going through this. How are we going to handle it? You know, and that's, look, man, that our team is almost our team is almost everything. Yeah. Without a team, you know, it's very difficult to accomplish the bigger and bigger job. But the team is what requires a lot of work.
The team
too.
is everything, bro.
The team is everything. It requires a lot of work. So we've worked a lot at the team.
And people don't realize the reality that people go through things, bro. You know,
we're all human.
You know, the other day, somebody, one of our employees came up to me and they said that they were going through something they were like embarrassed to talk about. You know what I told them? I said, look, this person, their uncle just died. The other person, their cousin just got arrested. Hey, you know what about the other person? They're going through divorce. Hey, the other person, that person's going through cancer. And like everybody here has something going on. You know, I have people that I love going through cancer. I have people going through things like, you know, shit happens, you know.
Heartache, you know, anything, being let down, disappointment.
So there's so many things that happen like in a real life scenario that like we understand, you know. The thing is that like my first boss used to tell me that job, the project, the things that we essentially get hired to do, who we are as a company that people don't see.
Yeah.
I mean, that people see, I'm sorry. That essentially requires an incredible amount of love. And the job is a very selfish person. The job doesn't care. The job doesn't care if you're going through cancer. The job doesn't care if your family member is dying. The job doesn't care if you're depressed. The job doesn't care if you have anxiety. The job doesn't care if you don't have money. The job does not give you know what. And the reality is that the job requires so much.
Yeah.
And that's why the team is so important, because when the person's going through something, the other person's picking them up. And I think that's a culture I think that you've really instilled. That the reality is that the culture that I had was a very harsh culture, which is still a little harsh.
Which is needed at times.
But the reality is that you know, people build this. What's crazy about this is that no ChatGPT is gonna build that building.
No.
We're gonna build this with our own hands. And there's a very big people aspect to that. And I pray to God that you don't ever forget that people here. And I think that sometimes, honestly, feel like you forget about it, you know?
You get numb to it.
You know? Yeah, you get numb to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You as in me.
You know?
As in,
like realize that the person 20 feet from you is mourning, you know? That person 27 feet from you is like going through the hardest time of their life. And I'm out there in the field and I feel it like if I'm next to them.
Yeah.
You know, so my biggest prayer is that you really stay connected to them and realize, because you're essentially here in this office and I'm not, and just realize that like we're here to like care for people. We're here to love them. We're here to send them flowers. We're here to like, because that's what keeps people. And we want to keep people because
100%.
Why do we want to keep people? Because we love them, you know, and sometimes we cannot allow the minutia of the job to like hinder us and harden our heart, you know, and the client is important, but our employees are just as important.
Of course.
So
our employees are what put out the product for our client. We're nothing without them.
Where do you think we're going as a company? And where do you think that John Bell's going as a company?
I was still stuck on the last question you asked me.
Okay.
Or you going back to what you said.
Okay, we're gonna go back.
What I was gonna say, because you said, before we get to that question.
Hold on, what do you want me to ask the question so we can say it again?
Let's bring it. No. What you said about the job is so selfish.
Okay.
Let's tie it back to where the love comes from. Our relationship started with baseball, and my uncle, godfather, whatever you're gonna call him, closest family relative who also loves baseball just as much as me, he told me at a very early age, this game is a very jealous game. Baseball, you know. You either give it your all or you're cheating on it, essentially, right? And man, you learn that at a very early age when you know what you're going towards, you know. With baseball and our background and who we were as kids, you're either all in or you're not. There's good baseball players. We know them all. They did good. You know, a lot of people don't get it. And we were okay. We didn't get anywhere in that. But, you know, and could we have been more all in? Potentially. But we were in our regard as in as we possibly could. That translates into our, you know, initial careers, our professional careers now, and what John Bell is. We still think of it that way, you know. This company, our service, you know, it requires our sacrifice, our love, our attention, our excellence, you know, our care, right? So that's something that the potential client also needs to see, you know, that we're also trying to put out there. Why don't we, you know, why do we struggle so much to land jobs? They can't see that yet, but we're doing it. We're working it. You know, in that process, it's our job to show them that, and then ultimately exceed that expectation when we put out our product. So I connect the two. You know, I'm always gonna go about what I do. You know, you ask me, do I love construction? I love construction. I'm the least handy person, the least handiest person that you can possibly meet. I'm not used to, I've never had to work with my hands. You've taught me a lot. And yeah, I've evolved. I do. You know, learning construction obviously makes you a little bit more handy. But why, you know, where does that love stem from? It stems from, you know, putting all your chips in and dedicating yourself to something. If it's not one thing, it's another. And for us, the leadership team, you, Albert, myself, our team, it's John Bell. We're dedicated.
Well, I definitely think that we're definitely all in.
100%.
And I've never doubted that for a second. And I pray to God, honestly, that we continue where we are, continue where we're going, and that we continue together, you know? Yeah. And, you know, how the beginning of this podcast started from a kid trying to impress you, throwing hard at a batting cage. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm still that kid. You know, I'm constantly trying to impress you, you know, because you are somebody that I've always looked up to, somebody that I've always cared for, and somebody that I have a lot of admiration for you and for your wife and for your kids and your family. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your family, you know, and for your mom. And
yeah.
And I think that we're going to continue to do great things. And I think that
Absolutely.
With people like you and people like Paz and like me, we're going to continue to give the client the service that they need and the
Absolutely.
service realistically that they've been wanting for a long time. So
Absolutely.
Hopefully
I love you, bro. I debated if to start the podcast with, hey, let me just say something. Just want to say I love you, bro.
Should have said
I
it.
really do, bro. I should have said it.
We're going to end it.
But we'll end it that way. And I don't know if you want to answer that last question, but I do, bro. Everything I do for this company is because of my love for you. Construction wasn't my first love, but I loved you before I loved construction. So if construction is what we're going to do, then construction is what we're going to love. Like if you wanted to row boats or go fishing or something, you know, I was going to love that. And I just thank God for that moment in time when I was, you know, faced with that, hey, now's the time.
Yeah.
You know, be it 2016, 2017, or 2018. Think about it. It seems like just yesterday. So it's always going to seem like just yesterday. It's always going to be just yesterday. It's never going to be 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I do, man. I will always act out of love for you and this company that you created with you and Isabella, a marriage with all they had was love in their hearts and a passion for people. And we'll stand behind it, bro.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I love you very much. And like you were saying about, the reality is that sometimes there's not tomorrow, you know, and, you know, the viewer, I hope you understand that you might have something in you that you want to do. You know, there's a lot of people out there that you might have an incredible gift, and maybe it's not a gift. Maybe it's just a longing. Maybe you want to start something. I'm telling you to do it. Do it, because at the end of the day, life is short. We only have one lifetime to live. Like, what are you waiting for? You know, I particularly had a calling. I felt like, yeah, we should start this. But you know what happened before that? I had to think about it. I had to pray about it. And within that is what created this. And I just hope that you realize that you have something inside of you that maybe you want to start a company, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're just stuck in like a funk. Whatever you're doing, just do it to the best of your ability and really set yourself apart, because I guarantee you're going to be old one day and you're going to look back and you're going to regret it if you don't. But I really appreciate you being here on the show. I really appreciate you being part of our company. I appreciate you being my best man.
Of course, bro.
And I appreciate you loving me, and in the good times and the bad. And I'm really excited for this podcast, and I'm really excited for where this company is going. And I think the sky's the limit. And as long as God is for us,
absolutely,
ain't nobody against
Who
us.
can be against us?
Exactly.
Every day, twice on Sunday. That.